It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10. All right, welcome to the border war for the July the 17th, 2018. TanMan, it is our 1 year anniversary of our very first show ever.
And 1 year ago today, we sat right here and began this journey through the world of sport.
And a lot of things have changed. I don't think either of us had Twitter handles that had anything to do with the show a year ago today. Today we do. Mine is BG_Border War. Yours is TanMan 3264.
Yep.
And of course you can follow us at the Border War. Back then, Meredix was the only way you could listen to us a year ago today.
It was. Today we can be found many places throughout the web.
Yep, we can be found obviously on Spreaker, which is the platform through which we broadcast. You can also find us on YouTube. In the fall, we are looking to get some new digs so that YouTube broadcast might become a video broadcast, which would be fascinating for all of you.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know whether or not that's what they really want, but
we're obviously on Twitter and Facebook, and as of this week, the Border War is on Spotify.
Yay!
The biggest music and podcasting platform out there. If you have Spotify, all you have to do is search for The Border War.
Make sure you put the in there, otherwise you won't find it.
Otherwise it won't work.
But we are there.
Then scroll down all the way to where the podcasts are, and you'll see a familiar logo. That's us. And it works just like everything else on Spotify. It's really easy.
Yeah. Hit the little heart, put us in your library, and then we'll be there every time you open it up.
You don't have to worry about remembering when we're doing a show. All right, so it's been a year, 52 weeks of shows. Our first show obviously was destroyed and is no longer...
Not destroyed.
Well,
that's an aggressive term you've taken there.
What?
Not destroyed, lost. The show was lost.
If something's lost, you can still find it. So I think I'm going to go with
no,
destroyed.
I mean...
You don't know that it's... I mean, I guess you're right.
It may be out there somewhere. Someone may have saved it as an audio file, and if you have... Please email that to us at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com because I would love to look back and listen to that. But no, it's not destroyed.
What did we talk about on that show? I remember the one thing I remember about that show is you showing me a picture of Shaquille O'Neal's toe in the middle of the show, and it almost ended the show right there. I could not go on.
What did we talk about?
We obviously probably were winding towards college football, the same as we're about to do today.
Yeah, I think we talked some about the summer league going on. I think I remember being like, I think the Sacramento Kings have done a great job, and they're really turning the corner.
Lots of things can change in
the
here.
Second worst record in the league this year.
Things like the summer league, they can be a little deceptive when they're that short. But that's not probably the craziest thing both of us got wrong. For example, I remember predicting that the Cleveland Browns would win 5 games, would look very competitive, and would begin the turnaround process. Remind me how many games they won.
I think they won any.
That would be 0. Yeah. So BG missed big time on that one.
I think we both picked the Giants to win the NFC East. But of course, a lot of people. I was listening to Jerry V this afternoon out of Charlotte, and he was saying that how he picked the Giants too. And all
Jerry V, who is now following the show on Twitter.
That's right. Jerry V's following us on Twitter. If you're listening, Jerry, thank you.
Thank you.
What else did we get wrong? Well, I'm sure that there was more than that.
I remember being right about. I remember you had the Seattle Seahawks making it deep into the playoffs, and I remember telling you I didn't think they would even make the playoffs, and I got that one.
Yeah, I think I had the Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Neither one of us thought the Eagles would be worth a flip. I think we both had them. I think you had them last, and I had them third, and I had the Redskins last.
What do we? I remember when Wentz went down, we basically threw dirt on them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Nick Foles is terrible. This guy is garbage.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot wrong, man. Have we gotten anything right? Give me something to write. I need to feel good about myself before we get into business here.
We were right about the Golden State Warriors winning their third half over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think anybody else saw that coming. We were the only people.
No one called it but us. And even then, we tried to be
everybody else thought it was going to be the Rockets and the Wizards, but no, only we.
And we basically just threw the towel in on that one from day one and be like, all right, would we force ourselves to pick something else just for discussion's sake? I do remember on the first show saying, or sort of telling listeners what the show would be about, and it springs to mind now because us pointing out all the stuff we've gotten wrong is not something that you hear sports guys do very often. No.
I mean, guys are wrong just all the time.
Every day, man.
And they never go back and talk about it. And we do it to remind you that we are not professionals. We both have jobs that have nothing to do with sports.
Now, we
met each other through work, but we talked about sports.
We decided that we could do a better job than the air quote professionals around here in our sleepy town. And so here we are,
and we were right.
Yes,
we were right because they're still terrible, and we're not terrible. I think there are times we're pretty good. I think there are times I listen and I'm like, "Ooh, that was not great." But
it's like our bio says, we are fighting crummy radio with a slightly less crummy podcast, and we want to thank everyone for listening.
And
to this slightly less crummy podcast.
I've gotten a lot of criticism for people asking us why we don't have a third guy on here who's a big Clemson fan. Now, here's the truth of it. Because we don't. I mean, not because we tried not to. If TanMan had been a big Clemson fan, then that's what would have happened. But that isn't the case. And so if you're out there and you want to be on this show, man, hit me up on Twitter. And I'll let you buy me lunch at the Beacon and I'll see if you can hang. Because we don't ignore Clemson. I would say
we're going to talk about them here in a few minutes.
And we're probably going to say nice things about them, but I get it. I get it. It would be nice to have a Clemson guy. It would be nice to have a Panthers guy. We talk about those teams. They're not our teams, but that is what the show is. I mean, whatever the show is, it's our show.
We're going to do it our way.
We're going to do it our way, and if we think it sucks, we won't do it. And if we think it's something we've been doing doesn't work, we won't keep doing it.
We've been doing this for a year, BG.
Yeah.
Give me your favorite moment, because I've got one. Give me your favorite moment over the past year.
I think my favorite moment was back when we were still allowed to do what grinds my gears. And I was talking about local sports talk radio, and I remember getting so worked up and angry that I think I threw a table across the room during the broadcast.
Something like that.
That'd be my favorite moment.
Yeah, see,
it was heartfelt rage.
Yeah, I would say mine is,
which happens to be the what grinds my gears that I'm pretty sure inspired that same radio station to just steal. Because you remember when we heard it live on the air, they made the little comment about, I don't want bad radio. Yeah, like it was funny.
So we know they listen to the show.
You're fat and you're terrible. Move on.
My favorite is the fact that I'm sitting in my living room one night, I open up an email, and I see an email from the head of this terrible station going, hey, man, you guys are doing a great job. We'd like to sit down and talk to you. And quickly followed up with, oh, no, wait a minute.
Well,
you're those guys.
The part of the problem was we didn't know we had an email. We didn't. The email was like a month old when TanMan found it.
A month old, like 5 days old.
Yeah, then in between, this whole situation had blown up with this.
With them stealing our bit. They stole our bit.
Word for word.
Basically, verbatim.
And made references to our show subtly on their little bit.
I see the email. It's like, oh, you guys are doing a great job. I like some of the stuff I've heard. And then it was quickly followed up with another one. Be like, wait a minute. You're those guys.
Calling us liars.
We've never stolen anything from you. I mean, it was amazing. That was hilarious.
You know who gets called liars by BG? People who lie.
Liars.
Yeah. Let's talk some college football.
Talk some college football. These guys, they'll be heading to camp here, what? A couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
I know NFL reports next week. College should be hitting the camp soon. So we'll start with...
I think we're only about 40 days out from opening weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Carolina. That is the real Carolina, North Carolina. We'll go through.
I'm just going to let it pass.
Let it pass.
We should start with them because it won't take long.
Oh.
We don't want to build up to that.
We might be amazing. We might be amazing. I'm getting ready to explain to you how right here.
Don't touch me.
Oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Some best and worst case
That's
scenarios.
why we need a YouTube channel, man. That would have been funny, but it wasn't.
For the Tar Heels. Oh, it was funny. They heard it. For the Tar Heels, Gamecocks, and the Clemson Tigers, we'll start with the Tar Heels, BG. Best and worst case scenario, here you go. Best case, I've got the Tar Heels at 8-4.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think an 8-4 season for Larry Foote. That's before the bowl game.
Right.
And let's just to reiterate, our studio disappeared there, just so you know. Okay, it's still broadcast.
It's under control. It's under control.
I wasn't going to keep the...
1 year ago, we had an episode and lost it. Now I've learned from my lessons.
Just going back real quick, my least favorite moment was when you went on vacation and a buddy of mine came over to my house and we did a 2.5-hour show, and I realized I had never hit record and had to do a solo show by myself. I had barely any voice left. I think I finished it at like 11 o'clock at night and had to get up and go to work the next day.
I remember I texted you. I was like, just don't worry about it. You're like, no, I'm doing it. It's going to be a show. I'm like, okay,
that was my least favorite show.
How the Tar Heels getting 8-4?
Well, I think they have to win a couple of games that they shouldn't win. "Quote unquote" shouldn't win. I think they need to have a consistent quarterback this year, something they couldn't do last year. Mm-hmm. You flip back and forth between two guys. I don't know if the kid coming in from Kansas is it even in the cards. Okay,
I don't think so. I think it's going to be between Surratt and the filled in for him.
Both of them showed some moments, but to me, Surratt has to just lock that job down.
I think in a perfect world,
to go 8-4, you need to win at home.
Well,
you got to win all your home games, or at least almost all of them.
Last year,
but that division's terrible.
Well, last year they lost 9 games. 4 of the 9 games they lost were within one score,
and they stayed competitive.
They did. They gave the Cal game away to open the season. They hung around with Louisville. This year they open up at Cal, at ECU. To me, to get to 8-4,
you got to split those.
They follow that up with UCF and Pitt. Last year, through the first 4 games, they were 1-3. Then they get, I think it was Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. They get beat 66-17 in those 2 games. They fell to 1-5, and the wheels came off. These first 4 games, you've got Cal, you've got East Carolina, and you've got Pittsburgh. You've got to get off to a good start and be 3-1. The Cal and Pittsburgh, to me, are the 2 most important games on the schedule because it gets you off. After that,
you literally, if you're going to go 8-4, the Pittsburgh thing is must win. There's no way around that.
After those first 4, you've got Miami and Virginia Tech with the bye sandwiched in between there. Virginia Tech, to me, that game is going to be at home this year. It wasn't terribly competitive last year, but the Tar Heels are coming off a bye. The week before that game, Virginia Tech will be hosting Notre Dame. You know that's going to be a big game. Yeah. Maybe they're not, maybe a little hangover.
Is this Fuente's 3rd year coming up?
I think so.
That's usually the year where you sort of watch out for a coach like that.
Yeah.
They could have a big year.
But the rest of the schedule, Syracuse and Virginia, they should be wins. Georgia Tech's going to be a big one. They've always had trouble with Georgia Tech in the past. But to get to 8-4, like I said, in my opinion, they've got to get off to that good start. And another big stat, the first half of games last year, the Tar Heels outscored teams by 8. They were +8 in the first half. In the second half, they were -41.
Do you think that's mental?
They've got to be able to finish
conditioning? Is that depth?
I think a part of it was depth. I think part of it was just injuries, man. They ended the season with 25 guys or something like that injured. They've got to, got to stay. Yeah, you say it every year about everybody, but they've got to stay healthy.
Well, somebody's going to stay healthy. I mean, some teams won't.
My worst case scenario for North Carolina, I've got us at 4-8. I mean, I don't see us losing to East Carolina. They're terrible. Syracuse, Virginia, to me, those should be wins. And then Western Carolina. other than that, everything else on the schedule is losable. I mean, I think at 4-8, unfortunately, I think Larry Fedora loses his job in that spot.
I think I'm going to go with 5-7 as being the worst case, just because I can't imagine that they don't take a step forward from last year. But just a word of warning, both TanMan and I, me kind of an unbiased way, and him, he's a fan, but like both of us are higher on North Carolina than everybody in the country seems to be.
Well,
I mean, like we talked about it last week, nobody's got them playing in a bowl game right now, and keep in mind, people this time of year, boy, talking about going back and admitting when you were wrong, some of these college football predictions are just absurd. But to me, Fedora's been there long enough. Like you said, tons of injuries. You're not likely to have that happen 2 years in a row at that level.
Exactly. It's hard to envision a scenario where the season plays out in a similar way like it did last year, given all the just a ridiculous amount of injuries they suffered.
Realistically, I'm going to put you at 7-5 for this season.
I think realistically, I think you're right. Somewhere
which is
6-6, 7-5.
Why I was so confused about nobody thinks they're going to play in a bowl game, because even if they go 6-6, they're playing in a bowl game. But I think one of those bowl predictions we looked at, speaking about Virginia Tech, had them playing in the Belt Bowl,
which means they're going 7-5.
Right. Now, I mean, North Carolina is sort of a shoe-in for the Belt Bowl. If they go 6-6, they're going to put them in Charlotte, because they're going to draw 30,000 fans. But we'll see. But no, I don't think either one of us thinks North Carolina's literal, realistic expectations is anything but a bowl game. I mean, should that be their goal this year?
A bowl game. Look, I've told you before. You're in a BCS conference. A bowl game.
It's sort of like what you say about making the tournament in college basketball. You should make it.
Yeah, they have 94,000 bowl games this year. They're going to be recruiting local high schools to fill the spots. If you can't make a bowl game, then heads need to roll. That's just my take.
Well, no, if Fedora has another, I mean,
if he has another losing season, they're going to get rid of him.
He's gone. But I hope that's not the case. He's an entertaining guy to listen to.
All right. What do you want to talk about? Some Gamecocks? I'll let you go first, BG. Give me your best case scenario for South Carolina this year.
The best case scenario for me before the bowl game, after the Clemson game, is 10-2. 10-2 probably means you lose to Clemson. It's in Death Valley.
I think we could. You're probably going to lose to Clemson.
Probably going to lose to Clemson, but I mean, there have been years when Clemson was probably going to lose to us, and that didn't happen. So, I mean, probably going to lose to Clemson, and then I'll look at two other games, Texas A&M and Georgia. I think you lose one of those. Mm-hmm. I really think we beat one of those two teams. I mean, it sounds crazy, but right now I have a good feeling about that Georgia game, second week of the season in Columbia. I just don't think Georgia's going to be what everyone else thinks they're going to be, losing their entire offense, basically. I mean, the offense that counted.
Yeah, but I can't remember the kid's name. He came in and spelled Chubb and Michelle for a few carries in the Rose Bowl. They're not going to drop off at running back. They're going to be just fine.
But keep in mind, in Georgia last year, one or two spectacular runs by Sony Michel is the only reason they beat us. And it was basically because our offense couldn't get a first down. Right. I don't think that's going to be the case. And in week 2, no matter what happens, I think Deebo Samuel is going to be healthy.
Well, I said,
and it's in Columbia.
You said it.
So 10-2 is that's my top of the line best case scenario.
The Georgia game is one that everybody wants to point to and kind of that one. When everybody is telling you watch it, a lot of times to me those things don't tend to turn out. I've got you guys at 9-3. I think you were right. I kind of grouped Georgia and A&M together, and I think if you could split those two games, and the other section is the back-to-back road trips at Ole Miss, at Florida. I think
Ole Miss is terrible.
But down in Oxford, late in the season, they
lost another defensive back on the way over to the show today that transferred out.
Okay.
They literally don't even have a starting defense. Sanctions have hit them so hard, they are a shell of a football team.
But again, late in the season,
In front of 45,000 people?
Oh,
that sounds scary.
See, I think you're already sleeping on a road trip in the SEC.
You think what I say on the show affects my football team?
Yes, I do. Okay. I think everything we say on here directly affects the teams we speak of.
Well, I'm going to have to start preparing and stuff then. That's a lot of pressure.
But the back-to-back road trips at Ole Miss, at Florida, don't know what, both of those teams didn't really have a lot going last year.
To me, Florida's the biggest question mark in college football now.
Split those two games. Split Georgia and A&M. I think you're going to lose to Clemson no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I got you at 9-3. What's your worst case scenario? The sky falls down. Where are the Gamecocks when it does?
7-5.
Okay.
7-5. I think maybe 6-6, but I'm going to go with 7-5 because I just think this team is ripe to win some football games. It's Muschamp's third year. They finally got some depth at defense. I think Javon Kinlaw and some guys on that defensive line are really going to make a statement. And I think our offense, under a new quarterback coach, what I've heard about Bentley's mechanics is encouraging. Mm-hmm. That they're going to just try to get the ball out of his hands quicker, which is the way he likes to play. With the number of wide receivers we've got, I just feel like
it shouldn't be a problem finding somebody to get the ball to.
And the schedule, it's just, for an SEC schedule, it's not that bad. No. It's not that bad. We avoid all the killers in the West. 7-5, maybe 6-6.
I've got you guys around 6-6.
That would be a incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, to me, it hinges on Bentley. You talked about how they've been working with him on his mechanics. I don't know if it's a mechanics as much as it is a decision-making issue a lot of times. Late in the season, you watch him and he's trying to force balls into places where he's got no business trying to force the ball into. I think
what they're trying to do is eliminate the need for him to make those I'm under pressure, I've had the ball for 5-second decisions.
Yeah, I said with North Carolina, it's hard to envision A, B, and C. To me, it's hard to envision the South Carolina offense not really picking things up and not really exploding this year. I mean, I think they could be in for a big year offensively.
You've got a guy in Brian McClendon who has nothing to lose. I mean, he can hold down a job as a wide receivers coach the rest of his life.
Right.
Okay. I think he's gonna roll the dice on some stuff. I think he's gonna play wide open.
That's what I'm saying. I think South Carolina offense could be explosive this year.
I mean, and I feel like we said that last year. But the difference is, I feel like Jake Bentley got a lot of press last summer. Right? Mm-hmm. This kid's gonna blow up, and I think he listened to some of it. And then I think too, realizing that Kurt Roper was hanging by a thin thread affected that whole offense.
Yeah.
That's not the case this year. I think the guy that's calling plays for this kid, this is a player's coach. They love the guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard too many players say it to think that, and I just feel like Roper, probably not a great fit at the college level. I mean, he's at Colorado now, but I mean, he seems more like a pro guy to me. He's very cerebral.
Yeah.
Maybe he's different around the players, but college football now, man, coaches, it's the Dabo Swinney model, man. I mean, like, you've got to make connections with these kids. And I think Brian McClendon's going to do a better job with that. But you're right. There's a potential here for this team to be, when you think of Shi Smith being your third option at receiver with 4.3 speed, I mean, there's the potential.
Pick your poison on defense.
And people, I mean, like, look, Deebo Samuel staying healthy, I think it was such a small sample size, but let's be really clear. That cat was a Heisman Trophy candidate.
What did he wind up with? Like 5 touchdowns in 3 games before he got hurt?
I think it was six touchdowns in 3 games.
Oh, man.
And, I mean, it was basically like every time he took – and one of those games was the first play of the game, and then he got hurt.
What, didn't he return the opening kickoff against NC State?
It was a slant route. Oh, yeah, the opening kick, but I was talking about Kentucky.
Yeah.
A slant route over the middle for an 8-yard gain turns into a 60-yard touchdown, then next thing you know, he's off the field. Yeah. And that's been an issue, so it's worth wondering about. I think Brian Edwards could have a big year. I think Shi Smith could have. But Shi Smith did all that last year just on speed.
Yeah.
He wasn't running good routes. He hadn't had an offseason of weight training. The kid came in at like 178 pounds.
Well, I know when they brought McClendon over to call the bowl game for the as kind of an interim spot. A lot of Gamecock fans weren't really
I think
he didn't get great reviews, but he got kind of tossed into that. I think with a full off season, being able to kind of do it his way, I think you're going to see a much different offense than what you saw.
And you can put a lot of that second half win on Michigan. I mean, I thought they played like crap.
Awful. They were awful.
But I did like McClendon's willingness to try different things in the second half. I mean, he didn't just keep, and just frankly, the best decision he made in that game was just like, hey, let's put Rico Dowdle in. Mm-hmm. Let's hand that guy the ball, because Dowdle, a lot like I said about Darius Geis, who he really reminds me of last week. It's a kid who just runs with an attitude. And I think that's the kind of running game that South Carolina's been missing. Dowdle obviously missed the first 5 or 6 games his rookie year, wasn't healthy. He came in, had a great second half of the season. Last year, it was just sporadically in and out of games. I mean, it was just like they couldn't quite decide what to do
didn't know
with him.
Didn't know what they wanted to do with him.
Yeah, and so I think if I had to predict a realistic record for South Carolina right now, I'm going to go with what you said as their best case. I think 9-3 is about where I would have them sitting.
All right. Well, for your favorite and mine, not really. The Clemson Tigers. To me, the best case scenario is obvious. It's 12
undefeated and a national title.
Playing for a playoff national title.
Yep.
No reason to get really too deep into that. To me, I've got an interesting worst case scenario. I'm gonna toss this to you. Tell me what you think. They go to Texas A&M. They open with Furman, which is obviously going to be a bludgeoning.
Yes.
But then they go to Texas A&M.
You don't think they can beat Furman?
Well, man, I would love. Oh, my God. But no, they're going to pound Furman.
No, well, you didn't say who was bludgeoning who.
I thought it was obvious.
No, not to me. I mean, I didn't understand.
It's all those years of listening to a certain local radio station that's dumbed you down, I guess.
I got you.
But second week of the year, they go out to College Station, Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is going to...
They played out there a few years ago, right?
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
But Jimbo Fisher's out there now.
Yes, he
is. Fisher is as familiar with everything Clemson's going to do as there is in the country.
It's a tough place to play.
It's a tough place to play. That's going to be a rabid fan base.
Clemson has turned into one of those programs now that has everybody's attention. I mean, beating Clemson is a... That's a flag in your cap now.
Yes, sir. To me, I've got worst case scenario for the Tigers at 9-3. They got the back-to-back, like I said, the A&M, second week of the season, middle way through, NC State, and then at Florida State. The Wolfpack has given them fits, and they just cannot seem to break the door down.
They can't kick a field goal over and over.
Every year we look at the Clemson schedule and go, man, I think this is the year NC State's going to do it. In a worst-case scenario for the Tigers, maybe that they catch that L on the road early to Fisher. Maybe at some point they make a quarterback change between then and there, between A&M and the NC State floor. Maybe they've made that quarterback change. Maybe Lawrence he struggles a little bit against State. Maybe he goes down to Tallahassee and struggles a little bit. But outside of that, I mean, I don't see them. Everyone's talking up Boston College. I don't see Boston College beating them. A trip to Georgia Tech. I think they've kind of figured Georgia Tech out. Nothing that they do.
Yeah, that seems to be over.
With that defensive line.
Their defensive line.
They're going to eat Georgia Tech alive. You guys, I mean, I don't really see anything else that should really give them trouble on the schedule.
It's in Death Valley.
Yeah, but the Clemson thing lately has been...
well, to
pound
be fair,
the guys we should. Great games. We're going to look dominant, and then a noon kickoff on a Saturday against a 2-6 football team is when they want to kind of lay down and take their foot off the gas and have a rough afternoon.
But they're in a position now where losing a game, it doesn't hurt them at all.
No, I mean they've got to lose. They have to lose two to not be in the playoff.
And I think that's their worst case. Mm-hmm. I think 10-2 is the absolute worst case, barring something like Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence getting hurt. I mean, like that. That's what it would take for them to lose more than 2 games to me.
Do you think Dabo makes the switch? Everybody's talking about Lawrence. He is the next guy.
I think it's going to be very hard not for him to do unless Kelly Bryant looks better than he looked last year. I mean, Kelly Bryant was the Trent Dilfer of college football last year. I mean, he played average football with an incredible defense and incredible skill players around him.
It sounds familiar, though, right?
Huh?
I said, that sounds familiar.
It does.
It's the same thing. I don't think that he's going to make the change. You see a lot of fans talk about, this is just like Deshaun Watson.
I don't think he wants to.
Well, this is just like Cole Stout and Deshaun Watson.
No, it's not.
When you made that change with Watson, I don't think you had a team that was ready-made to win a national title. I think you look and project and go, I think that down the road these guys are going to be able to have an opportunity for a title, and obviously they have.
Right.
But at that moment, they were not playing for a national title. This year, they're playing for a national title, and I don't think Sweeney is going to entrust that unless Kelly Bryant is just awful, which I don't think he will be.
Here's the real question,
though. A true freshman and Yankee out of senior.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If they run Kelly Bryant the way they did last year, he's carrying the ball 18 times a game, he can get hurt.
Well, that's different.
I know, but I'm saying
it's different. I'm talking. I said making the switch.
I think that's a more likely scenario, that he gets banged up a little, and then I think the switch might come the way Tom Brady's switch happened. Maybe Trevor Lawrence comes in and you're like, oh.
I was going to say, I think he'd have to come in and blow you away, because otherwise I think it would
everybody certainly thinks that's exactly what he's going to do. He's already won the Heisman Trophy.
Well, so did Deshaun Watson. Won like 5 Heisman trophies.
He did. He won 5 Heisman trophies in 3 years.
No, I don't. Unless Bryant is just terrible, and I mean, I think he's got to be, to the point where they've lost a game, and then they maybe win a couple games, but he still looks bad, and then you start thinking, this guy's going to cost us a chance to play for a national title. Then you yank him out of there. Other than that, as long as they're still chugging along, staying the course, I don't think Sweeney's going to make the change. He's not going to rock the boat. Now, Lawrence, he'll get some reps with the new rule about how you can play in parts of 4 games and still take a red shirt. So Lawrence will definitely get some reps somewhere in there. But I think at the end of the season, as long as the train is still on the tracks, there's not going to be a change.
I can see your argument. I think that
you just don't think Kelly Bryant is good enough, and I don't think he's good enough either. But I think he'll do enough, just like he did last year. He'll do enough to keep them in that conversation.
Well,
and if they win a title, it'll be because of their defense.
I think he's good enough on the team he's on, but I'm again mostly concerned about they showed a real unwillingness to use their running backs last year, and I
think that'll change.
But well, okay, you may be right, but then why did it happen anyway? I don't understand that.
Sometimes you get caught. I guess you get caught up in the game.
Yeah. And
I don't see how. To me, it's inexcusable. I don't see how it happens, but I think sometimes you get caught up in the game, and you see coaches all the time. I should have done this. I should have done that.
Yeah. But it was week after week.
I know. But now you've had a full off season to sit back and reflect. And what did we do right? What did we do wrong? They're smart guys. I met Tony Elliott. He's a nice guy. I think they're going to sit back there, and if they're honest about themselves, they're like us. I'm like, why didn't we run Travis Etienne more?
Right.
Why didn't we get Feaster out in space a little more? So I think they're going to take advantage of those guys. I think they, like you said, they know that Bryant is, him having that leadership is a big part of that team. So I think they're going to scale back some of the runs on him because he doesn't have to.
Well,
he's not a one-man show.
That's the thing I was going to mention, and I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, is I think there is a locker room dynamic at work here. I would imagine Kelly Bryant has the hearts and minds of most of the dudes on that football team. So. And I don't think you want to mess with that.
No.
Unless you know your players don't think you have a choice either.
Yeah, like I said, I think they've got to get back into a corner for a switch to happen. So I guess coming up in the next couple of weeks, I think next week we'll probably get into some NFL training camp talk. We should be making a few college football predictions. We'll figure out how to get that out to you in the coming weeks. But I guess that's it for this week. We want to remind you, like us and share us on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, mainly at The Border War. That's our show account. He's at BG_Border War. I'm at TanMan3264. You can email us, CarolinaBorderWar.com or CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. And be sure to search for The Border War on Spotify. Make sure you put the D in there. Click the heart. Put us in your Spotify library. We are on there now. We are everywhere. There is no excuse for you not to be listening to The Border War. Tell your friends. Listen to the show. Thank you.
Trick others into listening. You don't have to tell them it's sports.
I don't care. Just do it.